Look now at another angle in the Middle East. There were protests across the Palestinian territories this week after Israel's parliament passed a measure establishing the death penalty by hanging for Palestinians convicted of murdering Israelis. It comes amid tensions with France over the rule of law in Israel. France banned some US aircraft from flying over its territory for use in the war on Iran, and in response, Israel said it would reduce French weapons purchases to zero. We're joined now by Israeli journalist Rina Bassist. She's correspondent for Al Monitor and a former diplomat. Thank you very much for being on the programme.
Good morning.
So we know that the volume of French arms to Israel is relatively low, but if they ended altogether, would that mean an end to this relationship as it was before?
Let's say that the relationship between Israel and France are now at a really low point. It has been for some time, first of all, against the backdrop of the Gaza war and the objection of France that the war continues, repeated calls by President Emmanuel Macron for Israel to withdraw from the Gaza Strip. And then, of course, last summer came the recognition by France, by President Emmanuel Macron, of the Palestinian state. And that was really the coup de grâce, I say, to this relationship, leading to what we see now, a deep diplomatic crisis. We have seen also over this past year and a half, France refusing that Israeli companies participate in all sorts of security fairs, be it Satori or Naval, other fairs, and that, of course, did not contribute to the rehabilitation of relations. I've spoken in the past 2 weeks with both Israeli and French diplomats. Both sides told me that there are efforts underway to try to mend the crisis, to put this issue of the recognition of the Palestinian state aside, saying that evidently it's not going to disappear from the agenda, but the two countries must continue working together. For France, of course, there is the Lebanese file, which is very important. For that, they have to dialogue with Israel. But this latest incident of France refusing an American airplane to pass through its airspace on its way to Israel with equipment to battle Iran, to continue the campaign against Iran, that obviously was not helpful. And we've seen the Israeli response to that, a decision by the Ministry of Defense to stop buying any security equipment from France.
I'm curious there, when you mentioned that speaking to diplomats, they said that this question of France's recognition of the state of Palestine was trying to be put aside, but it's fundamental to what Israel is. How can this be, as a former diplomat yourself, how can these huge questions simply be put aside?
Well, we are talking now about politics. The two countries have different views, different opinions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is not going to disappear. Paris will continue to condemn Israeli military activities in Gaza. France will continue to condemn Israeli activities in Lebanon. France will continue to condemn settler violence. That is not going to disappear. But I think that both Paris and Jerusalem understand that it's impossible to continue this way. France has put on the table several initiatives concerning the crisis in Lebanon in an effort to arrive really to a ceasefire, in an effort to even create some sort of a direct dialogue between the Israeli government and the Lebanese government. But France cannot advance such initiatives talking only to the Lebanese. It must talk also to Israel. And from the Israeli side, I think Israel does see some advantage in engaging France in these efforts to advance on the Lebanese fight. So there is interest on both sides, which brings me back to this concept of realpolitik. Certainly, there are a lot of divergences of opinions between the two countries on several issues, and including, of course, the issue of the war in Iran, but there was also some sort of willingness to advance, to repair what is possible to repair. What happened this week, obviously, is unhelpful.
Rina Bassist, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but thank you very much for joining us on the programme.